Hi, my name is Cheyenne from Cheyenne Apex Motorsports, and today I'm with Casey from Setup Automotive. Hello, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for coming down and putting this together for me.
I'm really excited. We've talked before just out by the autocross, but today I have some questions for you, and I think I'll just get right into it. So I saw that you registered your business in January of 2018. So catch us up. What's been happening these last 6 years?
Oh man, it was a mixture of traveling around pro racing and also wanting to be have a more professional image for all the people that have called me throughout the years because they know how much I love cars and uh, you know, I guess I'm a problem solver.
Nice.
Yeah, right. Depends what the problem is when the phone rings and figuring out whether I'm the man for that job. So that is what led to, yeah, registering the business and getting a shop space. So, yeah, everyone knew where I was at.
Perfect. And there's a lot to go into the automotive business. So my question to you is, what has been probably the most stressful part of owning your own business?
Being pretty much doing it by myself.
Okay.
It is pretty hard to find other humans that look at things the same way that you do and can accomplish the job to a certain degree. A lot of cars that come to me are sports cars, and so that's kind of a different level of attention. Um, I've had a couple people come through, but they're young, they have their own ambitions, and I did my, what I thought that I would want to experience, coming into a little bit of open atmosphere is what I was offering to people, and the not sure, right? The age, the pressure, or what their thoughts are, but not many. Well, let me back it up a little bit. I have yet to find, the human that wants to show up with me every day and accomplish all the goals that I have together. I have had, an amazing lady by my side doing some of the office work and whatnot, but wrenching and actually getting the jobs done, yeah, and solving the problems is kind of the big gap that I've experienced with owning my own business and wanting it to take it further because I'll be backed up for a whole week at a time and the phone will still be ringing 2 to 3 customers a day saying, "Hey, I need this done tomorrow," and it's like, well, the lines around the corner, and so that's a hard balance to really take a hold of and keep in line to please everyone that's calling me. Yeah, so that's the biggest challenge is taking it all on my own. Yeah.
I guess on the other side of the coin, what has been the most enjoyable part of owning your own business?
So back to those phone calls, you never know what the problem's going to be, right? Um, Not trying to make it too complicated, but when you have a business, you're only allowed to do certain things, agreeing with the county or that you're registered with or whatnot. And so that can dictate the phone call, like a whole engine removal repair. First of all, maybe you're not qualified with the tooling or whatnot. But yeah, I like to keep it bread and butter. And that is kind of like tires, brakes, suspension, the alignments that I offer. Those are, I call them like a single stage repair. But when it comes down to like transmission work, removing a transmission, sending it off somewhere, and having another business do that professional work, maybe I could be in a position to do that. But at the same time, it might be something that's better for another business that's around me that I already work with. So there's that balance of what's the problem and whether I am the man for the job or right, getting just real picky. Just I don't want to do it, So that is the big pleasure is like, right? They say I'm my own boss, but you got to hold yourself to a certain standard or caliber. And all I look at it as everyone that calls me, they are potentially my boss for the day. So I have to please them, look up to what they are asking from me. Because again, I'm the one person here
Yeah.
that they are talking to, and there's no one else in between. So I have to,
You have all the blame, but all the glory as well.
yeah, so it's about putting that professional foot forward and making sure that it is going to be successful. Like, from whether it's a referral, right? I can't do it, but I'm going to refer you somewhere, or to, yeah, let's do that. I'll get everything that we need and it's going to be great. And, that statement, to follow through with those words, it can be, it could be climbing a mountain.
Right. I guess with all of this said and you taking this all on your shoulders, what differentiates you set up from any other mechanic shop?
I'd have to say saying yes. I get sent a lot of alignments. I've become popular for alignments. A lot of alignments come my way because people believe that they cannot do it with their equipment, or maybe they're having that whole thought process themselves of what they want to accept. But I do a lot of low profile aftermarket performance cars, and I've even had a brand new Nissan from the Nissan dealership sent my way. The dealership said, we can't align your car, and it was nothing special. It was a Nissan Z brand new car, and the dealership could not do it per se for some reason, and it came my way. So yeah, a lot of things that people say no to, I say yes to. So that is an easy thing that separates me from a lot.
So, would you say that Nissan was difficult to work on, or why did it come your way?
Was not difficult. I think maybe the fact of it already had aftermarket suspension components on it might have been the thing, but the vehicle would have fit on their equipment, from what I know, and it was easy for me to use my equipment on it. But it might be that thing of, because the fastener has more adjustments, it's beyond dealership specs or standards, or what I believe it comes down to, whether it's whoever's working on it is the actual human doing the alignment of, following through with it, believing that they know what they're doing. So that could be the moment for them.
And kind of going off of that, what would you say is probably some of the more difficult cars to work on?
Uh, Things that I do not have the proper tooling for, because right, say it's a water pump job, getting straight down to engine mechanics. There can be several special tools that are needed along the way just to get to that water pump. So it sounds like a simple task, but there might be some dealer tool, pin, or socket, wrench to get into a certain spot, tight spot, or yeah, something that makes it convenient that I literally don't have in the shop. So it could potentially make that project or job go to the next day, and I'm in the water, can't accomplish it that day.
And I guess on the same vein, what would be your most enjoyable car to work on if you do have a car that you enjoy to work on?
Something that's brand new, right? Not getting your hands dirty, and then just basic general maintenance. I love installing aftermarket parts, you call them, making a car have some more performance or whatnot, but your everyday stock general car is kind of the best car to have. And yeah, those are my favorite to work on. It's super simple. Yep, there's no yeah, thoughts that that person might be thinking about their special parts. It's just all regular things. An air filter is an air filter, spark plugs are spark plugs, yeah, things like that. So it's not like, what's the special thing that is going to be different than, somebody else's, and right, that thought can take you down a whole different path of, why doesn't this work on the car, and then that's that 2-day project versus in and out, customers taken care of, right? And it's all going to 100% like a business mindset, right? We started talking about business, and yeah, getting it done. Yep, yeah, right. want to pay attention to the customer, but yeah, the easier it is, the easier it is to run a business.
Right.
So,
You've been in the auto industry much longer than setup. What is your earliest memories of cars or anything car adjacent?
my father's my father working as a mechanic. So, as long as I can remember, going to work with dad has always been at an auto shop, an auto business. At one point in time, he bought a business in Sugar House in Salt Lake City, and he owned that for 15 years plus. And the amount of people that walk through there, I can't even count, like put a number to it. My dad solves so many people's problems, and it just seems so natural to me to have someone call, say, this is going on, do you have time? It's I've watched my dad do it, and that's where it comes from for me.
So, what would you say is one of your favorite memories about this time or another time?
Going to work with my dad, it was, I was still in elementary school more than likely. It's when he worked at an automotive shop. I don't know what he was doing that day. We were there on a weekend, and there was this Chevy 350 like engine block in pieces, like everything was apart. And I guess I was messing with it, and he came over and he started, pointing out, I believe, this here, that there, and it sticks for me. After we were done, he said, if it wasn't really broken in this certain part, we could start this up and, run it right now. And, you know, I didn't know what he was totally saying at the time, but it totally is yeah, it's something I hold on to. It is a great memory for me.
It sounds like your dad meant a lot to you. Was he part of setup or how is that?
Uh, so my father was always General Automotive, and so for me doing the performance, making horsepower, all those things, it was really interesting. It was like he looked up to me doing those things because yeah, he would ask me a lot of questions, years forward, like, how do you do this? What is this part on this turbo car? And to have those phone calls were really special in the moment because it was my time to stop what I was doing and now give that back to him.
Right. Kind of shifting gears here. I know that you have a Mazda Miata that you're so kind to let me drive before. Can you kind of give me some info about your car and the Mazda Miata?
Um, so the car itself, it's a Mazda. It's a convertible rear-wheel drive roadster. They are claimed to be the number one raced vehicle every weekend throughout the world. It does not matter what race could be going on, Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR. On that same day, there are more Mazda Miatas racing around the world than, say, that, specific huge event or whatnot. Yeah, very popular car. Very fun to do anything with. I've driven mine, well, first on the street, back and forth to work, and then also it then started going out on the racetrack, doing laps on the racetrack, and from that point forward, it turned into a drift car. So it has some suspension pieces on it that are specifically for drifting, makes the car work really good for that. And that's what the car is currently doing right now is drifting or kind of you could do anything you wanted with it, but it does drifting really well. And it could be anything else too. That right? You could yeah, it could go on from that yeah, that point forward. Right? I want to put a Honda engine in it. So yeah, whatever the thought your mind can create goes back to that. What is someone calling for the work for you to do? Someone could ask for all those things for their Miata, and yeah, but that's what I'm doing with mine.
That's kind of funny because I have a couple questions about that. Of if you could do anything to your Mazda Miata, what would it be? And then also, have you always been into Miatas, or was it just when you picked this guy up that you were like, "Oh, this thing's cool as fuck"?
So what I picked this car up for was to be a part of the business. I wanted to focus on spec MX-5. So spec Miata, a lot of people know what spec Miata is, but spec MX-5 is a new thing that is happening. And so the idea was to get that car, build it up to the rule book and the standards. And that was right at the beginning of really having the business space and whatnot. So a lot of investment was going on. And so the idea of it becoming a race car kind of got backpedaled and um, yeah, no longer a flagship for the business. It's kind of well, I guess it is, a learning tool for the business still, but not in that specific category anymore. And so that's what it was originally purchased for. It's now for driver coaching, drifting, whoever wants to drive it type of thing. And yeah, if there's one thing that I want, I'm working towards it, is just a little bit more horsepower. I started drifting with a car that had 300 horsepower, as to where this Miata maybe has like 160, something like that, if it's lucky. Yeah. And so it was learning, right? Drifting, easy car, high horsepower. Drifting was easy. Give it more throttle, it'll spin the tires. The Miata, give it all the throttle, it doesn't spin the tires. Get it up to second gear in the paddock stuff that we're doing, third gear on track. And yeah, you're floored and you're turning the wheel one way or the other to upset the car and get it to start sliding. And so it's a totally different world than having the horsepower. And I actually fell in love with it. And putting another engine in it, but I don't want it to have too much horsepower. Just a little bit more. Yeah, so that's currently what I'm working on with the car.
So, in your opinion, would you think that Miata is a good first beginner car for people who want to get into cars?
Oh yeah, definitely. It could teach you a lot, right? Just driving a car, or they come in automatic or manual. Learn how to drive a manual in it. Um, And depending on what you want to learn from that point forward, there's like driving dynamics, characteristics, and or general. It could be a car provided for general everyday driving, defensive driving. It's a good car that could probably do a little bit more so than some of the others, right? Out on the road, or it could go on the autocross or the racetrack. So versatile.
Um, Once again, kind of shifting gears. We've kind of sort of talked about some of your race experience. Can you tell me kind of what was your role, what did you do, and just your time in the racing industry?
So what I was valuable for was spotting problems before they happened. That would put me in a position that I'd be referred to as a car chief. So I am the person talking to either the team owner or the engineer and implementing like what is asked on the car, changing the oil or doing the alignment a certain way, and the things in between, like cleaning the car, wiping it down, looking for those problems, identifying what could be the weak link on the car that could prevent it from going as simple as 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 50 minutes. Yeah, it's a big responsibility, but if you're working for the right team, it's a very easy job to do as well.
What team did you work for?
So I had multiple years with Ian Lacey Racing. That's where I got a lot of my professional automotive knowledge from, being out on the road at in a professional circuit, a professional atmosphere. Um, and then after that, I took it up a notch. That was GT4 cars and TC8. Excuse me, TC cars. If anyone follows, the road racing stuff. And then I took it up a notch right at the time of opening the business, being in the brick and mortar spot, I did a summer of GT3 car, yeah, assistance, and yeah, I was a uh, lead car lead on the GT3 car, and we were in the pro category, and there weren't many signups, and yeah, we were always the number one on the podium, so that was a really good experience. And yeah, it kind of transitioned into, man, my phone was calling, or I was getting a lot of phone calls, and yeah, the focus on the customers kind of overtook traveling on the road, and there's some other choices to stay off of the road and more so be at home. But yeah, that'd be some of the racing adventures. Before that, it would be working side by side with my buddy Jordan. He had his own automotive business, and he was a huge inspiration to me of, yeah, getting that business license and having my own front door that people would show up to, because I worked for him, and he also allowed me to work on anybody's cars that came my way, right? He allowed his business space to me, and there was a mutual agreement. Yeah, this much for this if you're getting paid, and then I'll pay you to work on cars for me. So that was a huge booster in, yeah, collecting a customer base, and yeah, having someone to show me the ropes of it. Don't want to say it's easy, but I thought it took a lot more steps than that to be a business owner and, yeah, take care of people. Yeah. Yeah, it was yeah, a door that was opened, and a lot of things clicked for me.
Um, was your experience in the racing industry a benefit to you, or do you have any regrets?
Uh well, it's a benefit to me because I kind of already had immersed myself in race car culture. I thought I knew a lot. We kind of skipped it. Um, Going back before I started road racing and stuff, when I was 19, 20, I found the drag strip, and I was really into quarter mile racing. So I was hanging out with people with turbo Hondas, and then also there was people with Camaros, right? It was kind of a mixed culture of V8s and Hondas and turbo cars. And yeah, I went on a 6-year journey of attempting to make my Mitsubishi the fastest turbo all-wheel drive car in Utah. And yeah, and it took 4 times of making over 700 horsepower, right? Like 4 different engine builds, engine journeys, 2 different cars within those four engines, and it took 6 years to make an accomplishment of to have the car go a mid 9 second pass. It went 9:39 at 153. And in Utah, that's pretty cool. And yeah, the track got buried with that time, me doing that time, and yeah, no one else really went faster than that. So I kind of accomplished, yep, I accomplished that goal. And that was a huge head start for anything in the automotive industry, because I took all the problems on myself, but I also had a handful of great influences. I said there was the Honda, guys. Then there was the Toyota guys who were, doing the Supras, and the other Mitsubishi guys. That was a, it's a right. Each car comes with its own culture and foundation of humans, and man, Utah is a really good spot for anything cars, and everyone wants to be your friend no matter what you're doing. And so it was really easy to learn, and there were people that were already doing it a decade before me, and so in a way I surprised them, but because it was like, whoa, where's this young kid coming from? But I had been looking up to them for 5 years. Little did they know. So
Would you say that Utah is kind of like a melting pot of car culture?
yeah, you uh trucks, lowriders, sports cars, supercars, uh homemade race cars, right where we're at. We're in the middle of it. This is where everyone that builds a race car in their garage comes to drive it out at the motorsports campus. So at the same time, the motorsports campus has the off-road track,
Right.
the car shows, um, historic race cars, and any given weekend you can find a combination of those three or four occupying the space. They call it the paddock, and or it extends to the tracks from the pits to the racetrack. Everyone commingles on every single weekend, and right, even motorcycles.
Yeah.
There's so many car guys that ride motorcycles. Like, yeah, melting pot is, yeah, everything's touching each other.
What's one of your favorite events to watch out of any category?
I like the sports car stuff. I have recently become a Formula One fan within the past like 4 years, I could say. And yeah, I literally watch Formula One highlights on the regular. I can't get enough of it. When I first was conversating with the person that got me into Formula One, it was like all the drivers' names went right over my head. But now it's like, can you believe so and so is going to so and so? Yeah, right. And I can't believe that I pay attention to sports car racing as I do now, because right, we're talking 10 years, I thought I was, the cool guy. I could do anything, you asked of me 10 years ago, coming to this facility, working for these people. And yeah, I didn't know any of that racing history. And I have learned so much in the past 10 years that I like absolutely feel like I've missed out on a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so is great to know all that.
Is there anything that you would like to learn about?
Believe it or not, I have not done a lot of extra schooling to do what I do. It's all hands-on. I mentioned my father taught me a lot. I think I definitely have had a head start compared to a lot of people that do automotive. But so it would entail probably something that would take me back to school. I'd love to do CNC machining, creating something out of a block of aluminum, right? Something that is very important. Um, uh, and or it goes hand in hand. The 3D scanning stuff,
Yeah.
that is really cool, because you can replicate something. It's like, oh my gosh, we need this part. If you have that equipment, you could turn that part out in, or something that will resemble it, to hand off to another professional of a higher caliber, right? Is this crazy stairway of what you're doing might lead to a deeper culture within fabrication, production, or race cars in general.
Right.
And so those are the things that intrigue me, that take a lot of math, I guess you could put it.
Better man than me. I'm so terrible at
Yeah. And at the same time, a lot of that stuff is probably just hands on and the rhythm of it, and uh, you can do what you want to do every day as long as you show up to that place you want to be, right? So if I really wanted to do CNC machining, I literally should show up to that every single day. And um, you know, whether you're looking at abandoning what you're doing, or just taking on a little bit more, I feel like the automotive shop and taking care of all these customers is my main priority. But at the same time, as a human, you have to take a step back, pay attention to yourself, and do those bigger things that you want to do to keep stretching and putting yourself into the unknown, that really allow you to blossom and find out what you don't know, so you can be prepared for the future, because you never know who's going to walk through the door and ask something of you. And you might be the perfect guy for that, just because of your dedication to show up for yourself every single day.
I guess my next question is what would you say is your best accomplishment, or big or small?
I guess having my own business, because a lot of this comes from my father's business being sold. for about 15 years, I took it for granted. I showed up whenever I wanted, midnight or midday, the place was mine. And, you know, depending on where you are in your life, I didn't really know how hard it was to have a shop or a business of that caliber, and I just assumed it was going to be mine. Three bays, an office, and a front room, a front waiting area, right? It was, my dad did it for 15 years. It served him. I thought that I was going to take care of his big green toolbox and take care of all of his customers. And there was a split moment that I attempted to, but it was a little too late. And then that business is no longer around. And so that is what has blossomed this. This exists because my father's business disappeared, in the easiest words. Yeah.
I know that this business means a lot to you. What would you say in a couple words that it does mean to you?
Family. I think I'm a third generation mechanic because my father tells me of his grandfather teaching him. So, yeah, third generation with my grandpa being skipped, but he was in a big industry, leading people, whatnot. But yeah, I think I'm carrying down thoughts, ideas, and processes from the 40s. I have a hammer in my toolbox that is my great grandfather's, and great grandfather used it, my father's used it, and now I'm using it as a hammer. But yeah, that is something that really sticks. Is that little did I know I'd be carrying on family heritage, history of cars and automobiles.
What advice would you give anyone who wants to get into the racing industry or the automotive industry?
Don't hesitate. If you're thinking about it, there's many different outlets that you could show up to online first and foremost, and or show up at your local racetrack. If you really want to be at the racetrack, you really want to be around race cars, you can go to a race weekend and you could be there without being paid, and that's the start of it. Yeah, I was lucky enough that I had some accolades that it was like, hey, we're doing these private track days, we're doing these race weekends. Can you come assist us? And that was the summer of 2014, and I was doing things that were not cars before that, bicycles, landscaping, things of that nature. And yeah, one person needed me, a friend, he was getting me in to work for that business, and then yeah, it's all a decade behind us, behind me now, and people around me, friends, customers, acquaintances, and it happens quicker than you could think.
I guess in that same vein, I have to thank you because you're the one that kind of allowed me, opened up a foot in the door for myself as I was just roaming around the track clueless, and you came up to me, asked me some questions, and really kind of opened that door for me. So big thank you there. And this is kind of all the questions I had for you today, but it has been such a pleasure to sit here, talk to you, get to know you a little bit more. I know you have your own social media, so let's do a little shameless little plug on that. What is your social media?
Okay, so uh, it's easy for the business on Instagram. It's Setup Automotive, spelled as you might see it, SEDEP. Um, and then I'm working on YouTube. It's under Casey Barrett or at Setup Automotive, the same thing as Instagram. And then, yeah, that stuff follows into Facebook as well. And I also do have a website, www.setup.one. So ONE. It's a little different, but yeah, got all four of those corners, and working on them whenever I get a chance, kind of like what you're doing. And yeah, right. Thank you for showing up at the racetrack, because exactly is what I said. Yeah, right. Show up where you want to be, and before you know it, you're just immersed in it.
You really are. It's such great advice. It's great been talking to you. Again, Cheyenne with Cheyenne Apex Motorsports, and talk to you later.